Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Just Born Movies. I'm your host, David Ray, and with me today is Manny Classic.
What up?
And the man of constant hatred himself, Paul Workman.
Too sweet.
So, guys, what did we see today, Paul?
We saw Avengers: Infinity War.
So, what did we think of it overall, going into this thing? What did you think going in? Before you even, before the credits started rolling, what were you expecting?
Honestly, I wasn't expecting much. I was not a fan of the last Avengers film, which I realized is Joss Whedon, so you had a different camp. But on the flip side, I also was not a big fan of Civil War. I thought it was one really good action sequence surrounded by a bunch of boring nonsense. And that was Russo brothers, even though they did probably my favorite Marvel film, which is Captain America: Winter Soldier. So I wasn't expecting much. I really went in as blank a slate as I could, because honestly, I think aside from Winter Soldier, which is still my favorite, Guardians 2, Thor Ragnarok, and Black Panther are amongst my top 5 favorite Marvel films now. So I thought, hey, with 3 great films like that, this could have been good, but with Civil War being as boring as I thought it was, it could have been bad.
Manny, what did you think going in?
So, me and you talked about this. I was like, well, I'm hoping it's good, but the last movie I liked was Black Panther. The previous movie prior to that I thought was good was Captain America Winter Soldier. So there's just been a string of movies that I was like, okay, they put them out. But like I said, with Black Panther being as great as it was, I was hoping for greatness, but honestly just hoping to be entertained. So
Yeah, didn't you give Black Panther a damn near perfect?
I did. That movie is phenomenal.
Yeah, I know you gave it a damn great.
I did give it a damn great.
Yeah, and I was in the damn great camp as well, too.
I have to say, it is currently my number 2 overall Marvel. So
As it is mine.
yeah.
So
How about yourself?
Well, I went in kind of trying to be as blank a slate as possible, too. I mean, I didn't know really what to expect. I mean, this is 10 years for Marvel. You know, we're expecting something big. We don't know what.
Right.
So I tried to go in like you did with a blank slate, but I was excited for it. I really was hoping that they would pull it off. And so that's kind of what I did. I was high on hope, but after Civil War 2, I mean, they had such a great opportunity with Civil War, especially if they had truly paid homage to the source material. I think that movie would have been great. Instead, It came down to, I've got to protect Bucky again.
Yeah.
So, so from there, we have the laundry list of everybody who's in the MCU.
Yeah.
With a few exceptions. Clint Barton, we don't see Scott, which they explain.
Yeah, so you don't see anybody from the Ant-Man camp. So you don't get Pym, you don't get Janet, you don't get
Scott.
So his wonderful crew of miscreants.
Yeah. Although I'm hoping that we do get the. So I heard the story from this, and it's the story of Infinity War. At least the latest thing that happens.
Right.
That they would be aware of.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we've got the laundry list. We mentioned it's directed by the Russo brothers. It clocks in at about 2 hours and 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I think there are points in time where it kind of slows down, but for the most part, I think it moves at a good enough pace that it doesn't feel like a full 2.5 hours.
Honestly, I think they one of the best ways I've heard about filmmaking, especially filmmaking with multiple storylines like this, is called "Meanwhile Back at the Ranch." I think they did that. I think they did that pretty well. Whenever a story would kind of ramp up, they would leave you at a good point and then go to another story. I mean, they had people all over the place in this movie, so you're just flipping from story to story to story to story to the very end.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think they handled that well.
Yeah. Honestly, throughout the entire thing, there's maybe like 5 different subsets, and some of these converge and then diverge yet again, and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you're invested in the whole of the Marvel Universe, then it's really great. If you're the type of person that only goes in with like, oh, I like this character but not this character, you might get left wanting because there's just some parts where you're missing a subset of characters for maybe 20 minutes or so, and then we come back to them. So
So, okay, well, moving into the meat of the subject here, I mean, let's talk about the plot as a whole without getting spoilery. What did we think? Did we think it was strong, weak?
I think overall the plot works. I think there's a lot of things going on that are just clicking. They click really well throughout most of the film. Like I said, there are some slow parts. There's some. I mean, you're at 2 hours and 30 minutes with a lot of storylines going on, so it gets really bogged down with a lot of exposition. Then there's all the references and stories that you have to somewhat catch people up on, so you got a lot of that. It works for the most part.
Yeah. What did you think about the story as a whole?
I thought it was fine. Occasionally there's just explaining some things away, like they just kind of give one or two lines like, oh, this is why this happened, so this is why we're here. So, those slow parts, they probably could have actually fleshed out those one or two sentence things as opposed to just giving us walk, whatever they were doing in those, in
like
those parts.
Yeah, we get that. I mean, because the movie starts when Thanos already has one stone, and it's like two sentences as to what he did, how he got it.
He's like, oh, I just got it. Like,
I got it last week. I got it last week when I wiped out Xandar.
yeah, like.
Yeah, so he's got the stone from Guardians of the Galaxy. Forgive me if I can't remember all the stones.
It should be the purple one, which is the Power Stone.
Yeah. Power Stone, thank you. So he's already got the Power Stone in the gauntlet. It opens up. He's on Thor's ship, the Asgardian
refugee ship.
Yeah, from the end of Thor Ragnarok. And I was really upset because we got no Korg and Meek. I was really pissed off that we didn't get Korg and Meek. Like right off the top, there's like, we're just not even going to show you Korg and Meek. You're just going to have to assume they're dead.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, I mean, we only see 3 people alive, and that's the Asgardians, and only one of them makes it off the ship.
Well, see 4 because Hulk.
No, I said oh yeah, you see Hulk, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, you see 3 Asgardians and the Hulk.
Yeah.
And only 2 of them make it. 50% of them make it off the ship.
Yes. So, off the top, we lose Heimdall, we lose Loki.
Yeah. That's right, Hiddleston fans. You lose Loki.
Sorry, guys. It happened.
I was more wounded by the fact that we lost Heimdall.
I was too. I kind of figured it was going to happen.
Yeah. The first thing, as soon as he was killed, though, I leaned over to Manny. I was like, well, he doesn't have the Soul Stone. Cross that theory off.
Yeah. Right? We'll get into it, but the Soul Stone storyline is actually one of the few things that I thought really, really worked in this film. But we'll get into that.
So where did we go from there? I guess we went to Earth from there, right? We went to Hulk showing up, crashing into the Sanctum Sanctorum.
So Heimdall Rainbow bridges him out.
Yeah. So apparently his last remaining breath.
Yeah. So apparently, like Thor can summon lightning without Mjolnir, Heimdall can use the Bifrost without actually having the big cannon thing.
Yeah. So he's got the sword, which I guess is the most important part because
it's the focus, I guess.
Yeah. So
it's the channel.
So he uses that. Bifrosts him straight to Earth, and he goes crashing right through.
Yeah, he gives him to Doctor Strange.
Mm-hmm.
Which was an interesting encounter right off the bat, because they've got them arguing about money between him and
Benedict Wong.
Yeah, Wong. The funny thing that I noticed during the credits that I laughed about with Manny was, both of the magic users are named Benedict. We've got Benedict Cumberbatch and Benedict Wong.
Mm-hmm.
So, sadly, we don't get much of Wong in this movie.
No, not near enough.
He pretty much, we get the fight scene in New York, and then he's like, well, Steven's gone, somebody's got to protect the Sanctum, I'm going back, peace.
Benedict Wong's been critically underused this year, because Annihilation, which he was in, is a great film, and you barely see him in that as well, so.
Yeah. So,
more Benedict Wong.
They've done him Wong.
Hey.
Yep, you got it.
Yep, that happened.
Yep, that did happen. So after that, we get a jaunt in the park for Tony and Pepper.
Yeah.
Pepper isn't happy that Stark has put an arc reactor back in his chest as quote-unquote insurance.
Not necessarily in his chest. He just kind of wears it on his shirt.
Well, no, because later on we see him with the shirt underneath completely destroyed, and it's still there.
Oh, okay.
Near the end of the film. So apparently it's like a removable implant, is my
Okay.
guess. So as insurance, and Doctor Strange shows up, and once again things get strange.
Now we should say at this point that as a matter of story, Tony is talking about how he dreamt that him and Pepper had children. He wants children, and their wedding is upcoming.
Yes, coming soon. We don't get an exact date or anything, but we get the impression that it is soon.
Yeah.
It's definitely sooner rather than later.
That's right.
So apparently Pepper was dumb enough to say yes to Tony when normally she says no, just like she said in every other iteration of Iron Man movies.
Yeah, even though it was the B plan at the end of Spider-Man.
Yep.
Right. Also, Tony having this arc reactor in his chest shoots down the fan theory that, remember those leaks came out last year of the set, and everyone's like, oh, maybe they went back in time. No, fuck you, they didn't go back in time. He just has it the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's definitely a different look. It doesn't look like his other arc reactors or anything like that. It's a little bit bigger.
It alludes to the Mind Stone. It is the same shape as the Mind Stone that is in Vision's head.
Indeed it is.
So we get that. Then we get the exposition scene where how the whole world came to be and the stones came to be.
At this point, Doctor Strange and Wong are like, "Hey, we need your help," and that's how this whole scene comes to be. They transport back.
Yeah,
to
they don't
San
believe he doesn't believe Doctor Strange until Bruce Banner pokes his head around the corner and says, "Yeah, this is a big deal. You need to come with us."
You're like, yeah, you remember New York? This is that guy. You need to get on this.
So then we get that. We get that exposition, and then we get, where do we go from there?
And then people are running down the street.
Yep. Then we get our first real action sequence.
Oh, Tony pulls out the flip phone to call Captain America.
Yep.
But he's interrupted by shaking and people running down the street.
And Doctor Strange hair moving without him moving it.
That's right.
correct. Which he says he's not doing this time, which led me to believe that this is just a thing he does all the time.
Yeah, apparently.
Just moves his hair around.
Yeah, dude, it's like hero effect. It's like Dragon Ball Z, powering up. Their hair's just got to move and be like, wow, that's cool.
Yeah, there you go.
So then we get our first action sequence. Bruce Banner pretty much is Bruce Banner. We do not get the Hulk in this scene. The Hulk basically actually does show up at one point and tells Banner no, and then goes back away.
Mm-hmm.
And who is it he's fighting now? He's fighting...
They're fighting two of Thanos' children.
Yeah. The Dark Riders, I believe is what they're called, or the Midnight Riders, something like that. But it's the one that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's the dude with the axe.
We get the hulking brute guy, and we get the magic user, which makes sense because we got Doctor Strange.
That's right.
And of course they're after the time stone, which is around Strange's neck, which apparently at some point he has put a spell on to protect it. So basically they kidnap Strange, and at this point Peter gets the Iron Spider suit.
Peter Parker is riding on a bus. You see this in the trailer. He's riding on a bus. His hair stands up on it. And he looks up. There's a giant donut in the sky, and Peter's like,
you know, they missed a perfect opportunity to tell them to please step out of the donut.
Yeah. Nice reference to Iron Man 2, I guess.
Well, I mean, it would have been better than the cameo we got.
Yeah, so you get the Stan Lee cameo. You get Stan Lee cameo earlier, so it's out of the way.
Yeah, which was nice. I did like the fact that it was so early that I literally had pretty much forgotten about it by the end of the movie.
Yeah, so...
much as Stan Lee is kind of like a national treasure to comic books, his cameos are starting to get a bit thin.
Long in the tooth.
So, Parker shows up to help save the day, which ends up being Tony and Stephen Strange and Peter Parker in space.
Hulk's still on the ground.
Hulk's still on the ground. Hulk finds the phone and says he's going to make a phone call.
Right.
This is where we lose Wong for the rest of the movie. We don't get Wong.
Yeah, Wong's just like, I'm just going to chill here at the house. That's cool with you. I got a roof repaired. Damn it, Strange never got me that existential ham sandwich.
Yeah, well, no, and right before Bender crashed, he said, I could really go for a tuna melt. So apparently he didn't even want a ham on rye, he wanted a tuna melt.
Make up your mind, Wong.
It makes a lot of sense to me that Wong would want a tuna melt. Like, I don't think monks have a lot of access to ham, so
Yeah.
might be against their religious.
I
A
don't
lot of
know.
religions don't eat pork, so makes a lot of sense to me for him to want a tuna melt instead.
Why not?
But apparently he has ordered ham on rye before because Steven makes that comment. So
Right.
I mean, it could just be a generic New York comment,
why are we going to stereotype, though?
because I'm from New York, so fuck them.
And fuck the Yankees.
That's true.
Fuck the Yankees.
So we get there, then, since we're in space, we get the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, they pick up Thor. He smacks on their windshield like a bug.
Yep, and somehow survives space, I guess. We finally learned that Thor is 1,500 years old.
Indeed, we do.
So we learn how old he is.
And he speaks Groot.
Yes, he speaks Groot, which is a surprise to pretty much everybody on the ship and in the theater, I think, except for the nerd boy over here.
Yeah, they're just like, oh, I took it as an elective. No, ass dick. Fucking all the fucking Norse gods have this thing called the All Tongue that they understand and speak all languages. Ooh, I took it as an elective. No, fuck you, idiots.
Yeah, Doctor Who can speak baby. I'm down with Thor just speaking Groot.
Yeah, I'm okay with it too. I mean, he is like they said in the very first adventure. These guys are literally gods.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. That's a suspension of disbelief I'm perfectly okay with. And then we get the macho-ism, I'm going to show you how big my penis is, from Star-Lord, who is intimidated by Chris Hemsworth, which, to be fair, if I was Chris Pratt, I'd be intimidated by Chris Hemsworth.
I wouldn't be. Chris Pratt's a lovely man.
Oh,
Who
he is.
Who had to work to get his muscle.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't have genetics.
Running is hard.
You saw Fat Andy in the fucking whatchamacallit, now he's all fucking ripped.
That's right.
Yep.
Appreciate the hard work.
And he, if you don't believe it, just follow his Instagram. He's constantly talking about how hard it is to not eat all the food he wants to eat.
That's right.
As Paul chugs down a Slurpee.
Icy.
Yeah.
It's not blue.
It's not blue. Hashtag what's your blue?
Blues, clues, blues, clues.
Well, we now know what Manny's blue is.
That's right.
So we get that. We learn that there is apparently this great forge where Mjolnir was made that they can get a weapon to slay the gods.
Yep.
And so we get a diversion in Drax again. We get Groot and Rocket, or Rabbit, as he's called, by Thor. Those three go off to find the forge.
That was a really good running joke. I enjoyed it being called Rabbit through the whole film.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So we get them going off there, and we get the rest of the Guardians heading to nowhere. That's nowhere as in Guardians 1, not nowhere as in nowhere.
Might as well have been nowhere as in nowhere.
Yeah. So they get there. They see Thanos picking on the Collector. And they make an attack against him, which goes pretty well, only to find out that it's not real.
A little too well.
Yeah.
So he's already got the reality stone that he's picked up from the Collector. He's used it to
Alter perceptions and basically capture Gamora, because Gamora is actually the link to all of this and knows where the Soul Stone is. Because Thanos sent her out looking for it, and she found it and then destroyed the map to find it. So, we get Quill, who's promised to kill Gamora if Thanos tries to capture her, and he doesn't do it. He tries.
He technically does what he's asked to do, but
Thanos
has the reality stone. He turns his blasters into bubbles, which kind of bothered me because how does Thanos know what bubbles look like?
Okay, this does not bother me because this is another point of nerdism.
Yay.
So Marvel vs. Capcom 2 is a very popular game. It spawned 3. It spawned 3 Ultimate, and then it unfortunately spawned what is now Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, which is a dog shit game. In 2, for some reason, they programmed all of Thanos' attacks were just fucking bubbles. Like, he threw bubbles at people that would, like, capture you and just whatever. So, I don't know if it's an homage to that, but it's real brilliant if it is. Because pretty much the entire movie, he's just turning shit to bubbles for some reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, it happens like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
It's pretty great.
So yeah, it probably is. It probably is an homage to that. Because they're pretty good about throwing things like that not everyone's going to get.
If you did it on purpose, I got it.
One of us did at least. Batting 333, that's acceptable.
Yeah.
So Thanos captures Gamora, which turns out he also has captured Nebula and is torturing her, and that's how he knows Gamora knows where the Soul Stone is.
That's right.
Yep.
Now we cut back to Earth, and we cut back to a lovey-dovey scene between Viz, or Vision, and Scarlet Witch. Apparently they are in Edinburgh.
Shacking up in Scotland.
Yep. That's right.
Well, at least they weren't with sheep. So, we get them, and Corvus Glaive and a tiefling show up. That's the only thing I could think of when I saw her. She had horns on her head, she's got blue skin.
Her name's Proxima Midnight.
Okay, Proxima Midnight, the tiefling.
In case you're wondering, in the comic books, those two are married. Which is why they're together.
Well, see? That's why we keep Manny around, folks.
That's right.
That and he can cook.
That he real pretty.
So, they get into a fight with Vision and Scarlet Witch, and basically these two Avengers get their asses handed to them.
Not without kicking a little bit of ass themselves.
Yeah, but for the most part, it's pretty much a one-sided fight,
This is one of the weirdest scenes to me.
Yeah.
Because they are clearly the two most powered fucking Avengers. Like,
yeah.
Scarlet Witch has the ability to literally bend reality with only thought.
Scarlet Witch in the comics created what was referred to as the 198, where after
Want me to do this?
yeah, go. I was just trying to.
I mean,
the
most important line from that entire thing is no more mutants, which spawns House of M.
Okay, so backstory. She creates this entire reality that she wants. And then even in her reality, her fake kids that she has created get killed.
Mm-hmm.
And then she, in her rage, decides no more mutants.
No more mutants.
Aren't they?
Wipes out all but 198
kids.
No, I think that might be her and Vision's kids, because Vision's a robot. He can't have kids.
Okay. I know in one of the many multiverses there is a implied incestuous relationship.
That would be the Ultimates universe, and they really explore that in Ultimates 3, which was drawn by Rob Liefeld, who is a terrible artist.
So in comics, she's like, oh, I want this thing to happen, and she just rewrites all of reality.
And that kind of fits to kind of what we see, because if you look at what her power is, what color is her power?
It's red.
It's red, and it looks a lot like the ether does.
Yeah, it sure does.
So, you know,
I'd actually thought that later on in the film when you see her using it. We'll get into that.
Yeah. So, and Vision is powerful enough that even in this film, he's just casually walking around as a human because he can just remake himself however he wants.
Now he gets stabbed by Glaive.
Yeah.
Which apparently disrupts his entire system.
That's right.
Yeah, it forces...
That's one badass Glaive, because nobody else has been able to pretty much harm Vision.
So this ends up happening, and then all the unpowered Avengers come and just push these two shit in.
Yeah, Steve Rogers shows up in the shadows, gets a spear thrown at him, he catches it like a badass, because, let's be honest, he is Steve Rogers. Romanoff shows up and Falcon shows up, and they kick the crap out of these two, like it's no big deal. And that was a little difficult for me to buy, but
yeah.
Overall, I mean, it's Steve Rogers, Vision, and Scarlet Witch showing up and kicking the crap out of those three. I'd have bought a lot easier.
But nope, they're just like, hey man, humans need a little shine, so we're just gonna take the three most humans in this fucking movie and just show these assholes what the strength of humanity is.
So they tell them we're going home. They get in the Quinjet, and of all places they go to upstate New York.
Upstate.
where Colonel Rhodes is getting reamed by Secretary of State Thunderbolt Ross.
Good old Thaddeus.
So we do get Thunderbolt Ross, like we talked about wanting to get in the in our heavy drinking episode. We said we hoped he showed up, and he did. Thaddeus Ross orders Colonel Rhodes, or Rhodey, to arrest these fugitives.
He's like,
Rhodey hangs up on him.
Get right on it. Hang up. Well, there's my court-martial.
Yep. And basically, Cap, right before that, tells Thaddeus Ross that he's here to help, and if Thaddeus doesn't like it, he's going to kick the crap out of Thaddeus, too. I mean...
That's exactly what happened.
And at that point, I was like, yeah, as much as in the comics, I was Team Iron Man. In the movies, yeah, definitely Team Cap. Because Cap is, every moment with Steve Rogers, he literally is a national treasure.
Like that was just a moment where it was like, God, Steve Rogers, you're just amazing.
Yeah, he's like, I'm going to do what's right, and if you get in my way, I'm going to go through you. And I'm going to go through anybody else who gets in my way to do the right thing.
He's like, hey, look, the world can end, or I could punch aliens for you. You decide.
You know, and Ross wants him arrested, which makes no sense, because Ross is an idiot sitting behind a desk. So we get that scene, and they say that Vision needs help, and we need to get rid of the Mind Stone, and it can be destroyed, or we can see if there's a way to remove it. And of course, that leads us to Wakanda, where we actually, that's where we get the Starbucks line. We also get a quick cut in where we get Bucky getting his new arm, which I must say looks absolutely badass.
Oh, that sick vibranium arm.
Yeah, I mean, that arm looks gorgeous. So he stops being one-armed Jesus, as we saw at the end of Black Panther.
You actually see him one-armed it throughout the early part of this movie, just winging hay bales one arm.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, he's still a super soldier on some level.
On all the levels. I love you, Bucky.
You and my wife.
Oh, your wife likes Sebastian Stan. I like Bucky.
She likes Bucky too. I told her that Bucky needed a haircut. I almost got slapped.
Can't believe you just gonna talk about young Luke Skywalker like that.
Look, I'll believe young Luke Skywalker when he's young Luke Skywalker.
Look, man, they're gonna need to recast. Sure, they're gonna have some Luke Skywalker solo stories.
So they show up. His brilliant sister, whom I cannot remember.
Zuri, played wonderfully by Letitia Wright.
Hey,
Yep. Who is another underrated actress. She is
Very
absolutely amazing.
She was not in Ready Player One enough that we didn't even talk about her in the review because
She wasn't in it enough.
the end.
Yeah, she wasn't even in this movie enough.
No, that's for sure. Even though she makes every single second of her screen time count.
Yes, she does. She delivers her lines perfectly. She delivers tone and everything wonderfully. So then we get...
She makes Bruce Banner look like a fucking
idiot.
She's
Yeah.
Which I can't wait until she meets Tony Stark, because that's gotta happen eventually.
She's like, hey, why don't you guys wire it this way? He's like, because we're fucking lame.
Yeah, we didn't.
She all like, oh, aren't you adorable?
The best part is she asked that question, and it cuts briefly to Banner giving the look, and then it cuts to Vision looking up at him on the table like, yeah, why didn't you?
Yeah, I'm about dying. It's all your fault.
So then we get them. We get the bad guys showing up.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, we skipped a very important scene. We skipped the Soul Stone scene. Because that happens right before the bad guys show up. Right when they're getting to Wakanda, we cut to Thanos and Gamora going to Volmir, where the Soul Stone is. And Paul, why don't you take it from here?
So, essentially, we end up on Volmir, and Thanos was like, yeah, I'm gonna be real pissed if this stone ain't up here. I don't want you lying to me because you're bad at it because I didn't teach you that, which is line. It was not verbatim, but kind of a lie we got earlier. So they go hiking up this mountain, and they go into this kind of I don't want to clearing.
It's like a archway into a clearing type of thing.
And there's this this specter just kind of hanging out there, and
Yeah,
the specter
floating
knows.
midair, yeah.
The specter knows who they are.
Death Eater from Harry Potter.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah,
much.
that's exactly what he looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's like, hey, I know who you guys are, and they're like, okay, how do you know who we are? He's like, because it's my curse to know the people who go looking for the stone. And he comes flying down, lands, comes into the light. We got Red Skull.
Yep.
Not played by Hugo Weaving this time, but we get Red Skull back.
Yeah, which was absolutely amazing. It was a great.
That was
Great
the
moment.
best reveal of the entire film.
Yeah, because we don't have Hugo Weaving's notorious voice like that. We don't recognize it immediately. It's still got that Germanic accent and everything. So we don't really get it. And then when he comes into view, it's like, oh, it's him.
Yeah, because
Now we know where Red Skull is. He's actually the keeper of the Soul Stone.
yeah, because up until this point, speaking of his voice, up to this point, he just kind of sounds like the Phantasm from Batman: Mask of the Phantasm, like Thanos, your angel of death awaits. So anyway, he reveals. I had one of the stones. I touched it. It cast me out, and it sent me here, and I've been here since.
So Cap got to sleep for 70 years. Thanos got to work for 80 years.
Red Skull.
Yeah, Red Skull got to work for 80 years, yeah.
So he
He
leads
doesn't
him.
look a day over it, though.
Yeah, no, sure doesn't. He leads him to this cliff, and he said, "You're looking at the stone, but you can't see it because the stone demands a sacrifice of the thing you love the most." Gamora, feeling like she's won because her father is this callous.
Thanos don't love shit.
Yeah, she's like, "You don't love anything, so you completely lost." Turns around, he's got tears streaming down his face, and she says, "Really? Tears?" Red Skull says, "They're not for him." And then he chucks her off a fucking cliff.
Yeah. So now we're up to 3. We've got Loki, Heimdall, and Gamora dead.
All dead.
That's right.
So I gotta say, at this point, the Russo brothers and Marvel are not pulling punches. They told you that death was on the line, and they weren't kidding.
So, chucks her off a cliff, and he wakes up in this like pool.
He wakes up at where they came out at. He wakes up
Yeah.
at the bottom of the cliff.
Yeah, wakes up in this little pool. It's shallow enough that he's laying on his back, and he's not covered in water, and he's got the Soul Stone in his hand. Throws it on the Infinity Gauntlet. Time to go.
So now he's missing 2: the Mind Stone, which is in Vision, and the Time Stone, which we know is around the neck of Stephen Strange.
Now, what we've also skipped over at this point is Nebula has escaped captivity
Yep.
and called on Mantis to meet her at Titan.
Yes, and Doctor Strange was captured by the magic user of the Horsemen, or whatever they're called.
That's Apocalypse, but yeah.
The Riders, whatever they are. Look, Marvel likes their 4s. That's all I got to say about that. And he's torturing Steven, and Spider-Man shows up. The Cape shows up, and Tony Stark shows up. And we get yet another pop culture reference from Peter Parker.
In the most annoying joke in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
You remember that really old movie?
Remember that really old movie, Aliens? And they blow a hole in the ship and they suck what's his dick out of there.
Yep. And so they rescue Steven, and they say, hey, let's take the fight to him. Let's keep on this ship and stick our course to Titan. So they go to Titan too. So now we've got Nebula, Mantis, Titan, Steven, Tony, and Parker all heading to Titan.
Now something comes up after they save Doctor Strange that matters. He goes, thanks for saving me, but should it come down to you or the kid fucking dying as opposed to me keeping this fucking stone, you're going to fucking die.
Yeah, because the plan, he doesn't want to take it to Thanos, and pretty much Tony Stark says, look, we could take it to Thanos, which he won't be expecting, or we could take it to Earth and he's going to kill a whole shit ton of people.
To get it. So. Because Tony also knows that the Mind Stone is on Earth, so if he's got him having to go 2 directions, that buys one team a little bit more time.
Right.
So tactically speaking, it does make some sense. So then we get them crash landing on Titan, and just as they crash land, they get attacked. Not by Thanos, though, but by Drax,
Mantis, and Star-Lord.
And Star-Lord.
So 2 teams of 3 fighting each other.
Yep.
Which gives us the second worst joke. Because Peter Parker's all like, I hope they don't stick something to impregnate me. He's like,
yeah, he continues the aliens
about?
joke. But we do get the nice line about is Footloose not the greatest movie?
That was pretty good.
It's Footloose. It's still the greatest movie ever, isn't it?
It never was.
It never was. And you can just see the air come right out of Peter Quill. And to have it delivered by Tom Holland was just great.
There's too many Peters in this scene.
Well, it's like there's too many Chris's in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah.
So now we've got a team of 6 waiting for Thanos on Titan, and we have pretty much a team of 6 waiting for him on Earth. 'Cause, give or take. We got a little bit more than 6.
Yeah, I mean, they got an army.
Yeah, they do have all of Wakanda as well.
Including Winston Duke as M'Baku. Who
Yes.
has returned to us gratefully.
Yes.
Always so happy to have you around.
And he steals every scene he is in.
That is right.
When they're in the middle of a fight and he starts rallying the troops, I felt rallied too. Like,
Yeah, because we get to witness the might of the Jabari firsthand!
So at this point, we do go back to Earth, and they're saying it's going to take time, as much time as they can muster to get this stone out of Vision's forehead. And that's when the bad guys start showing up, and apparently they brought an army, because that's what you do when you invade Earth. You bring an army and hope we don't have a Hulk,
Yeah.
which we don't.
Which we don't, because Hulk won't come out. And,
Yeah, Hulk will come out to play.
And Banner's rocking some Hulkbuster armor.
Yep, Banner's in the Hulkbuster armor, which was kind of funny.
Which was kind of sweet. I'm not gonna lie.
So we get the 2 from before. We get the Well, this time we get a different. We get the Tiefling and we get the Brute.
Yeah, because
get
Corvus Glaive has been murdered.
Not Corvus Glaive. Corvus Glaive is.
We assume he's been murdered because he got pretty stabbed up.
Yeah, he got pretty stabbed up in his fight against Steve Rogers. The only one we know for certain is dead is the spellcaster because he got blown out into space and we see him crystallized and floating in space.
I'm just going to assume he's dead because Proxima Midnight said that they'll pay for his blood.
Mm-hmm.
Which doesn't make sense in any other capacity.
Yep. And, well, they even ask Thanos even asked later, I assume he's dead. And they say pretty much, yeah. And if Thanos has 4 of the stones at this point, I think if he's got the Reality Stone, I would imagine he would know. But he's got the Soul Stone, too, so wouldn't he know about all the souls in the universe? I don't know how the Soul Stone works.
Kind of. The Soul Stone has the ability to touch people's hearts and possibly the ability to return people from death. It's never directly addressed in the movies, but it can do that in the comic books.
Yeah, we really have no idea in the MCU, in the movies, what the Soul Stone does.
Yeah.
We just know it's the most powerful, but it doesn't go on the back of the hand.
Honestly, what we know at this point is the Power Stone he uses to pretty much
Destroy shit.
uppercut people to death. And the Space Stone allows him to teleport, because he teleports pretty much around, which...
He basically Bifrosts without the Bifrost.
He's essentially apparating from Harry Potter, which looks almost exactly like that too.
Which makes me wonder, like, why they bother taking the ship so long to get to fucking go get the Soul Stone. He could have just apparated there.
Well, he did apparate to the Soul Stone. Or they apparated onto the planet. Oh no, they beamed down.
They beamed down.
They certainly did.
That's right. We got the beam me up joke. We got the beam me up joke from Tom Holland as Peter Parker. They're beaming me up. So we get a lot of quippy one-liners. Not all of them delivered by Tony Stark.
Yeah.
Most of them not good, honestly.
And it really annoyed me too because the guy who spends like every single movie calling people characters from other movies or just the movie title themselves turns to Tom Holland at one point. He's like, "No more pop culture references out of you." I'm like, "Really? Point Break? Come on, get out of here."
I do think they addressed a little bit of his PTSD a little bit more, because we do get I still want an insurance policy, and then the conversation he has with Strange, where he's like, look, I've seen this, I've been thinking about this for 6 years, because we see in Avengers Age of Ultron when Scarlet Witch shows him the possible future.
Mm-hmm.
Again, Reality Stone, Scarlet Witch ability.
Yep.
But so the bad guys are now attacking Wakanda, and they realize that if they get around the barricade, they've got a straight shot at Vision, so they open the doors to Wakanda, and all hell breaks loose.
They open a literal door in the barrier. It's
Yep. He tells them
like
specifically,
30 feet wide,
he says specifically open like Southwest Quadrant, Section 17A. I mean, he's very specific.
Very specific, and it looks like he's trying to create some kind of bottleneck so that they're coming towards it, but they're not spilling out as much. But that's not going to work if you want a decent enough war sequence.
Yeah, they didn't close the gap enough to really make it a kill box.
Yeah.
Sorry, they opened it a little too soon.
Yeah. So
then we get the massive battle of Wakanda.
now, at the same time, we're skipping over Thor a little bit, who is in this furnace where they have found Peter Dinklage's character.
Who is a dwarf playing a dwarf who's giant-sized.
Yeah.
That's right.
I know that word is technically not politically correct, but I see what they did.
No. Dwarf is politically correct because dwarfism is midget's what's not correct.
Okay.
That's right.
So yeah, they have a dwarf playing a giant dwarf, because this guy, Peter Dinklage is like 10 feet tall on the screen. He towers over everybody, which to me was just kind of humorous, and we all know that's why they cast Peter Dinklage in that role. But he does very well in that role.
No, it's Peter Dinklage. He does very well in every role.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
He the best.
Yep. And he's playing a dwarf, so once again, he drinks and he knows things. Because that's what the dwarves of the Aesir do, is they drink and they make things, so they have to know how to make them. So he is the last of his people, apparently.
Because they are the creators of the Infinity Gauntlet.
Yep. So not only did they make Mjolnir, they made the Infinity Gauntlet.
And now they're going to be making Thor's axe from the Ultimate Universe.
Stormbreaker.
Which is also Beta Ray Bill's hammer in the normal universe.
That is also true.
Literally, he's like Stormbreaker. I'm like, oh shit, I hope we get a Beta Ray Bill cameo.
Oh man, I've been hoping for a Beta Ray Bill cameo since the first Thor.
So I'm just waiting for Jane Foster to pick up the hammer.
If we ever get Natalie Portman again.
They're just gonna recast her.
Yeah, I mean, they did it with Don Cheadle, and they did it with, Thanos, and then, you can recast. It's all good. So yeah, he basically has to restart a star, which is pretty impressive if you think about it.
Yeah.
So somehow they restart a dead star, and then the iris is sealed shut, so Thor has to open the iris and get burned to a crisp. And we get a really cool scene from Groot, who's pretty much been playing a video game as a teenager the entire movie.
Yeah, so at the end of Guardians 2, you see teenage Groot in the post-credit sequence, and he's just an apathetic teenager playing video games.
He's he's basically got a Nintendo Switch and he's walking around with it, and that's all he does the entire movie.
Yeah, they keep calling me like, you've been an asshole.
And he's playing pretty much Space Invaders.
Yeah. So
to kind of compound on the Galaga joke from the first Avengers.
Yep. So they get the axe head made, and they're like, oh my god, we need to find Thor is dying, we need to get this axe made so he can re-energize, and apparently this is the weapon of kings, and we'll be able to open the Bifrost and do all sorts of amazing things.
All them dings.
So while Peter Dinklage is scrambling around and Rocket's scrambling around and Thor is dying, Groot just makes a hilt with his arm and cuts off his own arm.
Just kind of a cool sequence.
Yeah, I mean, it really was.
Honestly, the entire Thor, Groot, Rocket subplot is my favorite subplot in the entire film.
I thought it was really well done.
Every scene with them in it is entertaining.
Yep.
It's often funny.
Or even just emotional, because we do have the scene where Thor originally thinks Rocket is the captain of the ship, because Rocket's doing a lot of the sensical talking, and Peter's doing a lot of the chest puffing.
Right.
And Rocket notices that Thor is down and says, time to be the captain. And he tries to go and be that morale boost that Thor needs.
But of course, he's Rocket,
So it doesn't work so well. But he tried, and to me, that was a very empowering scene.
Yeah, he just opens up with, dead brother, huh?
He also gives Thor an eye.
Yep.
Yep.
So Thor is not one-eyed anymore. He's not like Odin anymore,
Which apparently he stole from somebody after he won some poker games or whatever, and then snuck it off a planet in his ass.
It makes me wonder if it's the eye from the first movie when they're in jail, or was that the second one?
No, that's the second
one. He's in jail and he's like, bring me the fucking mohawk. And he brings him eyes and just brings them up. I wonder if it's the same one.
Because in jail it was the leg, because he had the leg as he was climbing up the thing, and he hands it to him. He's like, "No, I just thought it'd be funny." It's like, was he like hopping around?
And later, so Thor gets this axe, which re-empowers him, and Thor looks like a badass again because he's Thor. And he opens a Bifrost and shows up in Wakanda as shit's starting to go downhill.
And just murks fools left and right.
He just wrecks them, and then we get the scene with Bucky playing the space version in the same scene with his space counterpart. Rocket and Bucky are shooting at things, and Rocket wants Bucky's gun.
He's like, how much for
And
the
he says
gun?
it's not for sale.
Not for sale. How much for the arm?
And Bucky just looks at him and walks off, and Rocket says,
I forgot what he said.
I'm
gonna get that.
I'm gonna get that guy's arm. So once again, Rocket continues his love of
Stealing
appendages and mechanical parts.
That's right.
So yeah, things start going crazy. Scarlet Witch shows up. She's supposed to be guarding Vision, and as soon as she does, Proximus opens a comm link and says, "All right, she's down here. Make your move." And Glaive shows up to take out Vision, and Shuri and her guards get pretty much murked.
Yeah, Shuri's like, I'm not taking this laying down. She punches him and then just gets backhanded out of a window.
Yeah.
She got her sweet ass little blasters. She got blasted away and just not a fucking thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Glaive, and then.
But she goes out like a champion because that's what she is.
Yes.
Good job.
So Vision is now up and fighting after he gets stabbed again by Glaive. And just as he gets stabbed and they're about to wrench the Mind Stone from him, Steve Rogers, once again, Deus Ex Machinas, and shows up.
There's a whole lot of this in this film. Every time someone looks like they're about to be down, somebody just comes from left field. They're like, "Hey, look where I am."
The funny thing is we get that, but then we get times where nobody comes out of left field. Like, we expect the Hulk a couple of times. The Hulk doesn't show up. We expect X, Y, and Z, doesn't show up. So things go sideways. They end up killing Glaive. Well, Vision ends up killing Glaive by running him through with his own glaive.
And he's the last of the four to go.
Yes.
Because the Brute is sent into
the Wakandan energy shield by Banner.
and then exploded.
Yep. And
then Proxima Midnight gets thrown into this giant wheel thing.
it's another donut without the hole in it of blades, as a tank.
Yeah, it looks like that tilling piece of farm equipment, but on a 40-foot level.
Yeah, it almost looks like Grievous's bike.
That's exactly what I was just about to say.
In Revenge of the Sith, but much bigger.
Much bigger.
But yeah, so she gets thrown into that and pretty much ground to whatever tiefling beef is.
Yeah.
So whatever it is blue, because there's blue blood all over.
Scarlett Johansson.
Scarlett Johansson playing Black Widow. Yeah.
Not Scarlet Witch, because
that's right.
That's a different person who's on screen.
So, just as they kill Glaive, they're like, "All right, we got a moment to rest. The wind starts to shift and everything, and Cap says, "Okay, everybody on me, everybody on my position," and Thanos shows up.
And Vision's Mind Stone is going off, warning.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Horcrux,
Yeah.
So yeah, Harry Potter gets a headache, and Voldemort shows up. We have another battle scene. This one is definitively one-sided.
This is just Thanos coming through, backhanding fools, and making sure everybody is just taken out of commission.
Yeah. But the last man standing is Steve Rogers and Vision, and Scarlet Witch. But the last one that's not in a defensive position, that's on the attack, is Steve Rogers, which is where we get the scene where he grabs the glove, and then he gets cold cocked and goes out like a light.
And we're talking about this, but we've completely skipped over how Thanos got here.
He apparated.
Yeah, no. Not physically, but the whole storyline that brought him here.
Yes. So let's jump to Titan.
So we're on Titan. It's our
Thanos apparates to Titan.
Yep, and it's our 2 groups of 3 are now buddies instead of attacking each other.
Yep. But we have Stephen Strange just sitting on a rock waiting for Thanos to show up.
Meditating.
Yeah.
And looking forward into the future to see a scenario in which they survive Thanos' attack.
14,560,005 possible outcomes, and they win one of them. Never tell us the odds.
So, Thanos shows up. They have a pretty well planned out attack, and it's going pretty great.
It goes perfect, pretty much.
Yeah, and Nebula ends up showing up in the middle of all this. I don't believe we had seen her at this point.
Last time we saw her was her calling mantis.
Yeah. So Nebula shows up and
runs him over with a ship.
Yep. And so they pretty much get him down. They get Mantis on his shoulders. She's doing her little go to sleep thing, which of course they remind you of earlier because she does it on Drax. Just in case you hadn't seen Guardians 2.
Yep.
So
now they're trying to pull. Parker and Stark are trying to pull the gauntlet off of Thanos' hands.
We'll call them Starker from now on. So they're trying to pull it off. Everybody else is holding him down. And then Star-Lord gets in his face and is like, yo, where's Gamora at? And
he learns what happens to Gamora.
Nebula's pretty much like, he's here with the Soul Stone. She's not here. Do them maths.
And he does them maths.
But Mantis the whole time is narrating the fact that he feels bad about it.
Yeah.
He's like, she's all like, he's grieving.
Yeah. He's mourning. He's
anxious.
Yeah. So then Peter Quill throws off the whole plan.
Yeah, by going batshit crazy and start punching Thanos. Which breaks him out of the stupor.
They have the gauntlet this far off of his hand, and everything's broken. He puts it back on.
And then we get back into a fight sequence where he throws a moon literally at Tony Stark.
Yep.
And it doesn't stop Tony Stark.
So he pretty much starts backhanding fools and gets down to him versus Stark, and Stark's throwing everything he can with his new nanobot technology at him. Makes a little sword out of his hand. Thanos rips it off and stabs him, and this is the moment where the entire movie got lost to me.
Yeah, so Tony stumbles backwards, he's bleeding out, dying. Thanos walks up and says, I hope they remember you. And I think he's about to snap his neck, just put him out of his misery. And Steven says, wait, if you spare his life, I'll give you the Time Stone.
So, all Strange is posturing for nothing. Ignores the greater good to save a couple of people.
But I want to point out one thing, though. But one thing major that happened between then and then. He looked into all the possible futures. Mm-hmm. So that one time when they won, maybe that's what he had to do. We don't know.
No, he says that. He specifically says it was the only way.
Yeah, it's the only play.
But it's one of those... It's like, I'm going to protect the Time Stone no matter what. Unless I look into the future and decide that I'm not going to protect the Time Stone anymore. I'm just going to fucking give it to Thanos.
So here's the nuttiest thing to me about this scene. So he stabs him. Stranger's like, oh, if you spare his life, I'll fucking give you the stone. He gives him the stone. Tony still got fucking stabbed. Why does he just stop bleeding out all of a sudden?
Yeah, well, we do see the scene where Tony uses some
he got run straight through. There's blood coming out of his mouth.
Like, he got stabbed in the fucking kidney area too.
Yeah.
Like,
the only thing I can think of is nanobots. People.
All the nanobots you want. There's still internal bleeding. This whole thing.
They can sew shit up.
Deus Ex Machina.
They can sew shit up, but they couldn't even fix the armor, because at this point Tony's wearing half the armor because it's literally been crushed by Thanos' bare hands.
But he's still able to use nanobots instead of fixing his armor. And I mean, you give me the Big Hero 6 explanation. You're just gonna run out of nanobots. okay, nothing. He's still throwing nanobots into his body.
Like,
But if you notice after that part, he does not have the armor anymore.
I get it. Like, he ices himself, which he apparently is just a power he has now because he did it earlier to seal the hole in the ship when they throw out the evil wizard dude.
Mm-hmm.
But literally, if that ice is thick enough or cold enough to blast, chill a hole in a ship, by using it on himself, he would kill himself by giving himself frostbite immediately.
So all this build that the Russos have done to this point to say anybody can go at any time is suddenly just thrown out the window because it's Tony Stark. That's it. No.
Foundation of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah, and this is the 10-year project, and you can throw the foundation out because you've built enough, and they completely waste everything they've done at this point. As entertaining as the film was up to this point,
That's where they lost you.
that and it's not even that it's Tony Stark. It's that you're like, anybody can go at any time. We're gonna run this dude through. We're gonna make you think he's gonna die again. And we're just gonna walk it all back. Let's just walk it all back. This was the perfect moment to show that you mean business, that this place is dangerous, and you're just gonna walk it back.
Yeah.
Just completely.
For me, it's that it is Tony Stark. Because we talk about Gamora dying and...
Yeah, honestly, when he got run through, as much as I love Tony Stark, I felt that it was time for him to die. I felt that his death would have mattered more than him getting saved.
So Heimdall gets killed, Loki dies, Gamora dies. I hate to say it, all of these are secondary characters at best.
Yeah, and I mean Loki's a good starting point. Loki's a very good starting point because he's one of the characters that's been there from pretty much the beginning.
Yeah, so
and he's been a great connective tissue.
And he's a fan favorite, even though technically he is a villain.
Yep.
But instead, we get Tony Stark, main thread through Marvel Cinematic excursions. He can die. And they're like, well, it's Tony, so we're not going to.
No, I absolutely agree with that call. I think that, especially with Avengers 4 still to come, and that's when they could have walked it back. I would have been okay with it if they walked it back in Avengers 4.
I expect some things to get walked back in Avengers 4. I didn't... Avengers 4 is just going to be a letdown for me, no matter what happens at this point. It was always going to be a letdown because I always knew they were going to retcon a lot of stuff that they were going to do.
Especially, we also know
we
a lot of...
finish talking about 3 before we get to how much walking back they're doing in 4.
All right. So they walk back on Tony. Now we get back to Thanos.
Back to Earth.
Yep.
Operating to Earth. Yeah, backhanding people. Sealing Banner and the Hulkbuster armor in stone. Blasting people with the Power Stone left and right.
While at the same time, Scarlet Witch is actively destroying the Mind Stone in
Vision's head, which will also kill Vision.
Which she does.
Yep, she succeeds on it. Unfortunately, at this point, somebody has the Time Stone, and he walks it back.
And he walks it back, and this is the one walk back I was fine with,
yeah.
because they don't necessarily walk it back too much, because they walk it back. He's alive again. Plucks it straight out of his head.
And Thanos just rips it out of his forehead, and Vision, and then throws him away, and Vision is dead. And he puts the last stone into place.
Yep, and
then we're like, well, that's the end of the movie. And then Thor shows up.
Then Thor shows up in a really good moment.
Can we talk about Vision's death real quick?
Yeah.
Because I think it's cool as fuck. He rips the stone out and he throws Vision away. And you get another thing of Vision's personality. He goes back to being just a gray robot. This entire time you just assume Vision is this colored robot. He's red and orange and green and shit like that. He rips the stone out. You realize, oh, Vision's doing all that. So he just gray.
Yep.
Yep.
Vision has chosen what he wants to look like.
Yep. And so he plucks it out of his head, throws it in. Thor comes barreling down on him, much like he did at Thor Ragnarok. The new axe just hurtling towards his chest. Stormbreaker. Just hurtling towards his chest and plants itself just straight up in him.
Yeah, right into his chest.
Also, we should note, this axe comes barreling through as Thanos is actively wielding the power of this gauntlet to try to stop it.
With all the stones.
Yeah, it's still just cutting through to show the supremacy of this fucking Peter Dinklage made axe. That it's just like, I don't give a fuck about the Infinity Gauntlet.
So, spoilers for Game of Thrones, Thor sits on the Iron Throne. Because Peter Dinklage gave him that axe.
That makes a lot of sense, because Iron Throne's probably a really great conductor of electricity.
Yep, exactly. Yep. Don't fuck with Thor while he's sitting on the throne.
So he gets the axe in him, he comes down, he starts pushing it in more, and he's like, you should have aimed for the head. Snaps his finger and disappears.
Yeah, and then he opens, he apparates out. Leaving the axe behind, too.
Yep.
And we're like, oh shit, what does this mean now? I mean, we have no idea. We have no idea what's going to happen.
But whatever he's done has blown up the Infinity Gauntlet.
Yeah, the Infinity Gauntlet is smoking. Yeah, smoking and charred. And it goes up his arm, too, because we see in a later shot when we see him, it goes up his arm. It deals, it comes at a cost.
Yep.
Yeah, so the gauntlet's all burned up and singed. The stones are in them, but they're cracked now. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but all the stones are now cracked. So who knows what's going on with those. And
Thor's like, what did you do?
Yeah, literally that is exactly what Thor says right before he leaves. What did you do?
Makes me wonder how he apparates out. The stones are all cracked.
Mm-hmm.
Still got some residual power.
I guess.
Something. So then comes the moment where I just completely zoned out of the entire movie. People start disappearing. One of the first ones to go is Black Panther. All I think is, we already know there's a Black Panther sequel, so this means nothing. Death means nothing in this world.
And like I told, we see him, and then we also see Bucky go. We see Falcon go. We see Groot, Mantis, Drax, Peter.
Quill.
Peter Quill.
Peter Parker.
We also see Peter Parker. And that scene there, that is going to be a jarring moment for Tony, period. I mean, it's another arc in Tony's PTSD situation.
Because you was okay with bringing child soldiers into this world, Tony, but as soon as they die, you got to feel guilty about it. You should feel guilty from the beginning for bringing child soldiers into Civil War, you piece of shit!
The nuts thing to me is that everyone pretty much starts fading away. They get like 3 to 5 seconds, they fade away. Parker gets like a minute.
Yeah.
Just like slowly dissolving.
And he gets the David Tennant doctor, I don't want to go.
We lose Stephen Strange. We lose Scarlet Witch. We lose M'Baku.
No,
we didn't lose him.
No, we didn't. Okay.
We did not.
Pretty much
Believe
almost everyone else in his tribe is gone.
Yeah,
He
believe me, I was watching M'Baku, like, as much as I was checked out of the rest of it, I was like, M'Baku better not go, because he got to be here for Avengers 4. Somebody's got to keep that movie interesting for me.
Tony Stark.
No.
Nope.
Yeah, pretty much.
I think that's everybody of our cast.
Yeah, I want to say as far as...
Is Cat, Hulk, War Machine still around?
War Machine. Pretty much, if they were introduced in Phase 1 and they weren't killed earlier in the movie, they're still around.
I'm not sure if Rhodey's alive anyway. He kind of gets turned into
he's standing up.
Crumple can.
He's standing up.
Because he's all like, Falcon. Yeah, it's like, Sam, where you at, Sam?
Sam's dust in the winds just before it.
That's right. That's right.
Almost all the Guardians are gone. Nebula may or may not be alive.
I think her and Stark were the only two left out of that entire team.
Yeah.
We lose Groot.
Yeah, we lose Groot. So her, Nebula, and Rocket.
Oh,
that's
Rocket.
It.
Yeah.
There's the only two left because Rocket's got to have the emotional Groot. I know you were a jerk, but I still love you.
Yeah.
We were paying since you were a sapling, but I still love you. So yeah, and then we cut from all of that. We cut back to Thanos,
who earlier on in the movie that he was asked, "What will you do when you have
you've accomplished everything?
Everything?"
And he said, "I'm going to go watch the sunrise or watch the sunset."
Yeah,
one of the two.
I'm gonna go rest and watch the sunset, watch the sunrise on a grateful universe.
And
That's what we get.
that's what you get.
With a contented smile on his face.
Cut to black. Russo brothers' names, so you
Credits.
know exactly who to blame for how
That's
bad
not
the last
exactly
scene is.
what we get.
Okay.
Because as he's walking forward, we now see Gamora again, but as a child.
Oh yes.
Which you see earlier in the movie, him actually saving her when he goes to her planet 20-something years ago.
And kills half the population.
Yeah. So, she's like, well, did it cost you anything? He's like, everything. And he's just kind of looking out and fade to black.
Yep.
Russo brothers' name come up, so you know who to blame for the last 10 minutes of the last terrible 10 minutes of this movie.
Yeah. Go through the credits.
20 minutes? 20 minutes.
Go through the credits. Go through the
Hashtag
credits.
Paul is wrong.
There's no mid-credit scene.
No, there's no
But
mid-credit
there
scene.
is an end-credit scene.
Yes.
So, we're driving down the street through New York, and you're sitting in the back seat watching these characters drive. This SUV swerves in front of the vehicle that we're in, and of course, people get out. You find out it's Maria Hill and Nick Fury, and he's like, "Make sure the driver's okay." And she walks up to the car. There's nobody in there. She's like, nobody's here. Then you turn around. There's a helicopter that crashes into a building.
People start running, freaking out.
Yeah, and Fury is like, "Oh shit!" Get people on the horn, and Maria Hill dissolves out.
Yeah, says, "I'm not feeling well," and dissolves out. This is the part where Paul has now hates the movie.
So,
For fantastic.
so Nick Fury
Fantastic.
goes around the passenger side of the car,
Quickly,
and there's
he runs.
two guys there. One of them dissolves, and he kind of runs through the dust of this guy. And the other guy's just kind of standing there. He whips out his 1990s pager, and he starts
He
typing
presses-
something.
Yeah, or presses a button or something.
Then
have no
he
idea.
starts fading as well. And this thing drops to the ground,
And
and
we-
it says
we-
sending.
Yeah, when we get the closest we get the closest we get to getting the F-bomb dropped in this movie.
He gets the mother.
And he's dust in the wind.
So essentially, the last line of this movie is exactly
How he feels.
around the last line of Spider-Man: Homecoming with Peter. What the? Hey, you did the same joke twice, Marvel. Good job, dickheads.
So it drops to the ground, and it says sending, sending, sending. Then it says 4 dots, and then you see a symbol on a blue and red background,
Yep, a gold symbol with a gold line through the middle.
and that's it. So unless you're informed, you just have no idea what's going on. You're
Kind of
just
like the first time everyone saw Thanos at the end of Avengers, and they're like, "Who the fuck is that guy?"
I feel like Thanos is an easier sell. You're like, oh, that dude's at least menacing, so you at least know he's a bad guy. Here you just got a fucking circle that looks like it has a flower inside of it.
Yeah.
On you're just like, oh, he's texting some country because that's clearly a country flag.
But of course, it's set up for Captain Marvel, which
Captain Marvel,
we're
baby.
getting next year, starring the wonderful Brie Larson as Captain Marvel.
Yeah, Brie Larson. She's real great. Been in
Oscar
love with her
winner,
since
Brie.
So now that we've
since
done
United States of Terra.
now that we've done that, what do we think about cinematography?
It's a well shot film. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. It's still kind of that muted Marvel color scheme, so it's not necessarily pretty looking, but it's fine.
Yeah, that being said, we saw it in standard, we didn't see it in IMAX. Apparently we shot on IMAX camera, so it's probably pops a little bit more on IMAX, but...
And I'm sure eventually at least one of us will go see it in IMAX, and we'll definitely post something about it on our Facebook page.
Yeah, it's not an awful movie to look at. It's a Marvel movie to look at.
Yeah.
What about the other technical aspects? I mean, sound editing.
I mean, it's good sound editing. They've never had bad sound editing in these things. I mean,
Yeah.
Special effects.
The
costuming.
VFX are always top notch because Disney's throwing all the money at it. So
there's a lot of seams being seen in this film, though, especially when you see like Tony Stark and Peter Parker next to each other in the iron suits. You can really see how weird their heads look.
Yeah.
They just every now and then they just kind of move a little too fast for it, and their head kind of becomes disembodied.
Yeah, it's especially a thing with Tony's suit with how reactive they attempt to make it because it's consistently throughout the battles morphing into what he needs.
Right.
It's the most ambitious suit that he's created thus far, so it does tons of things that none of the other suits have needed to do. So it gets some occasional wonky CG effects.
Yeah. Thanos looks real good, though.
Yeah.
Through the entire film, he looks good.
Yeah. And Josh Brolin just did a fabulous job.
He did.
As Thanos. Like, he sold the role.
He was real calm and collected. He wasn't, like, maniacal. Like
He's exactly like I read Thanos to be when I read him in the comics.
Yeah, he's probably the most three-dimensional character in this entire film.
Mostly because if you watch this as a standalone, of course you missed all the character building going into this. So
a lot of that building they didn't need to do. They need to build Thanos.
So with Thanos in this film, you never really got a good build with him. You pretty much just you know of him through other people talking about him. So you know he's supposed to be menacing, but you haven't really seen him do anything to this point.
I have to say, I think he's better built than even some of the heroes that have had a couple films ahead of time.
Yeah.
So
I think that he was well crafted as a character.
Yeah, very well crafted.
Also, he's not entirely wrong. His entire thing of the universe only has so many finite resources, there's too many fucking people, isn't entirely wrong. It's actually a pretty prevalent scientific thing. That
I mean, they talk about the overpopulation of the Earth all the time.
Yeah.
So the CGI is fine. Most of the performances are real good in this film for the most part. I like Tom Holland less and less as Spider-Man each film I see him in. So,
which is real nuts because I didn't think much of Spider-Man: Homecoming to begin with, and I actually dislike him less, or I dislike him more after this film. Even though I didn't think Homecoming was anything to write home about either.
Yeah, me neither. And I liked him in Civil War enough. I was like, oh, this is a good introduction. Now let's get a good film off of him. Didn't get a good film off of Spider-Man: Homecoming, and his character's real dumb in this film.
I have to disagree with that. I think he fits the Spider-Man mold of the teenage Spider-Man who's still kind of coming into his own and everything. I think Tom Holland did a good job with what he's supposed to be.
With what little he's given so far. They've given him nothing.
And I think part of that is, in all three of his movies, they've had the crux of RDJ. And that sucks for Tom Holland.
It really does suck for Tom Holland, but I just haven't liked his performance up to this point either. Like, I didn't think it was good in Spider-Man: Homecoming, and I really don't think he's good in this film.
I think Benedict Cumberbatch does a great job as Stephen Strange, especially playing off of the egomaniacal or egotistical, rather, narcissistic tendencies of Tony Stark and the machoism of Peter Quill, because in Doctor Strange he kind of starts off that way.
I hate Peter Quill in this film, and I love him in both the Guardians.
Yeah, I don't.
Russo brothers did a terrible job with him.
Yeah, they did no credit to the character. They really harmed the character, I feel, in this one.
Yeah.
I liked the fact that somebody else other than Banner or Rhodey or Steve called out Stark on his shit, and of course it was Stephen Strange by calling him a douchebag, which I absolutely loved the fact that
I did get a good laugh out of that.
Yeah.
There's actually a lot of really good laughs in this.
And they're not in the wrong times. They're at the right moment levity type of things. There are some bad levity moments. Yeah. Unfortunately, they're mostly delivered by either Tom Holland, Peter Quill, or Tony Stark.
Yeah, I'd say that's right. Those three really brought down just about every scene they were in. I mean, even Stark gets some good lines. I think
Yeah,
Quill gets one or two good lines, but for the most part, they're just so poorly written in this.
Yeah, like RDJ gets a good line when he shows back up after having the moon thrown at him. Because if you throw another moon at me, I'm really gonna be upset. Okay, that's good. Okay.
I really appreciated Chris Hemsworth in this film.
Yes, I think he was a strong backbone. I think
He, like I said earlier, the stuff with Thor, everything that involved Thor was great.
it was a strong continuation off of Ragnarok
Yeah, and
for that character.
and the one scene we were talking about earlier, where Rocket tries to go be like a shoulder to cry on at that moment. Chris Hemsworth gives this performance in that scene where he is trying to be a rock, and you could see in his eyes that it's tearing him apart.
He is trying to be the Thor that we first saw in the very first Thor movie, where he was like, oh, the Jotuns showed up and messed with Asgard. We're gonna go kick the crap out of them. He gets that mentality, but you can see it in his face and his eyes that the words don't match the emotions he's feeling.
Yeah, because entirely too much has happened to him at this point. He's lost
So much.
literally everything.
Yeah, as far as we know, he is the last Asgardian.
Yeah, Rocket's kind of going through a list. He's like, so brother died, huh? He's like, yeah. He's like, and your dad? Mm-hmm. But you still got your mom, right? No, she was killed by a dark elf. Your best friend? Stabbed. Like, just going through a list of everyone that he should be close to you, and he's just like, yeah, they're all gone.
They're gone.
Everybody. Yeah. And he's like, yeah, but he's like, are you sure you're ready to go on this mission? He's like,
even Rocket's like, are you sure you're up for this? Because I mean,
like rage and revenge and
justice.
And they're all real good motivators. And besides, what else do I have to lose? And it's a gorgeous moment, honestly.
Yeah.
It's a really good
I
moment.
think that was probably my favorite scene in the movie. Was that scene between the two of them?
Yeah.
It's just I can't even pick. Both Thor scenes are great.
They were, but I think that one because it shows such a depth of character.
Yeah, that whole subplot between them is the best one. RDJ, Doctor Strange, and Spider-Man. I think realistically, if it wasn't for the fact that Strange has the Time Stone, they could have cut that entire thing.
Yeah.
I didn't care anything about that.
Yeah, which is a shame because I really enjoyed the movie Doctor Strange.
Oh, I did too. And they just lumped him into the most boring storyline.
Yeah, he was just there as a MacGuffin.
Essentially.
Yeah, there are characters that they did great justice to, like Thor.
And Cap's greatness.
Yep, and Cap, and even Vision and Scarlet Witch. They really their interactions and what they're going through is so central to the story. They did a great job with them. They did a great job with Thanos. But there were so many other characters that they tried and failed.
Yeah, and I feel like if they didn't completely pull the rug out from under me with not killing Tony, I might have been emotionally invested enough in Vision and Scarlet Witch's storyline to have been moved to some kind of any response. But they didn't kill Tony, and then that happened next, and I was like, whatever.
So, final thoughts before we get to our ratings?
So I think it's a real great film that inherently is lacking because it lacks focus on characters that should matter. It lacks the ability to keep itself emotional when it should, and it lacks the resolve to do what it needed to do, particularly killing off Robert Downey Jr. in a moment that realistically would have made sense and would have helped establish this movie as a true threat to the entirety of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah, especially with the last title card saying, not the Avengers will return.
Yeah.
It says Thanos will return.
Other than that, I think it looks fine. The music's good. It's okay.
Yeah, I think overall, that's my biggest drawback to it is that there were characters that you could tell they wanted to do something with. They wanted to develop them a little bit further, and they just couldn't find that groove within the script or within maybe whatever's on the cutting room floor.
I was gonna
Who
say
knows?
maybe they did find that groove and they just cut it out in order to not kill Tony.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge Tony Stark fan. I'm a huge Iron Man fan. My ringtone right now is the Iron Man ringtone that Rhodey uses in Iron Man 1. Robert Downey Jr., Tony Stark should have died in that scene. I think that would have been the gravitas, that would have been the heavy punch we all needed to solidify not only the movie as a great Marvel movie, but how deadly Thanos is. Because that's the guy they hung their hat on.
Yeah, and to take out your keystone just says this is about to come crumbling down, and everything is expected.
Yeah, I mean,
unexpected.
Who is it? Who is it that says it? Because they know Tony's not on the planet. Was it Banner or Strange? Somebody says Earth's greatest hero or most powerful hero isn't there to protect it.
It was Cap when he was talking to
Ross.
To Ross.
So even Captain America says your best asset is Tony Stark, and he's not here.
Which specifically just speaks to the fact that Tony is a corporate government shill piece of crap. But
So, but I mean, it also goes to show that even at that level, that the government level and Steve Rogers recognizes the level of importance within the universe. So killing him would have been the most logical and powerful play, and I think it's what most of us expected, and that might be why they didn't do it.
And honestly, it's. I mean, personally, I'm done with RDJ as Iron Man, so seeing him die would have been cathartic for me. But it's not one of those like I think I'm smarter than the writers. It's more you did such a build to this moment, and then you swerved because you were too afraid to kill Iron Man, and you could tell that's exactly what it was.
Yeah, there was definitely a...
They're like, if we kill Iron Man, who's going to come see Avengers 4?
If we kill Iron Man, what toys are kids going to buy?
That's right.
Captain America.
And I'm fine with you selling toys. Just make intelligent decisions.
I'd buy a statue of Tony Stark run through. Just saying.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was enough jarringness to it. But I mean, and you guys saw me there at the end. I was emotionally invested. I was leaning forward. I had my hand up here like this, like who's going?
Yeah, I literally almost walked out of the theater without watching the post-credit sequence.
Yeah. So for me,
I wouldn't have got Maria Hill, and then they killed her.
So.
I feel like we were a conga line of emotion because like Paul's leaning all the way back. I thought he was gonna fall asleep. I'm like, okay, here's a movie. Fucking.
Yep, exactly right. Because I'm emotionally invested in all these characters. So with that being said, what's our final examiner's report? What do you give this movie, Manny? On our rating scale.
I'm gonna say it's a high damn average movie. It does a lot of things really well, but it does a lot of things to hinder itself. You're gonna go see this whether I tell you it's a great movie or awful movie. But honestly, I would put it somewhere between a low damn great and a high damn average. So I'm just gonna go damn average because I think inherently even the things that are great in this movie may or may not be retconned in the next movie and will feel cheapened by that. So damn average.
All right. So now the moment that I've been waiting for since we got out of the theater. Paul, what is your examiner's report?
What works in this film really works. What doesn't work in this film really throws it off. It's a really unbalanced film, unlike the knife that Thanos gives to Gamora when she's a child. But even though the last 15-20 minutes of this movie is absolutely a waste of time, it's not enough to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I'm also going damn average, but I would say a low damn average instead of a high damn average. If I were giving this a letter grade, I'm going C-.
Oh, it beats the F that I was expecting.
It deserves an F because it killed Maria Hill, but
As I told you in the theater, your criteria was she had to be in the movie. She made the film.
look, the way he feels about what's her Hunger Games,
Jennifer Lawrence.
I almost feel about Kobe Smulders. I love her to death. She belonged in this movie a lot more, and then they killed her.
I would agree that she belonged in this movie a lot more, though, because she's such an integral part. Whatever, she's apparently back with S.H.I.E.L.D., or at least back with Nick Fury.
She never left Nick Fury.
So, and my report, I think you guys both hit it on the head. It's got its really strong points. It's got those parts of it that just blow you away. I mean, the first 20 minutes, 10, 15 minutes, when we're just, before we even get to New York, they're just such a powerful kickoff.
Yeah. I got way sucked in that film by Loki getting murdered. Like,
Yeah, I mean, and even afterwards, like, we saw some really great scenes, from some emotional scenes. We saw some weak scenes too. Despite all of that, I really enjoyed the film. I was emotionally invested because I wanted to see who's gone, and I want to see what they do next. I'm really excited to see what comes down the line, where Ant-Man and the Wasp fit in, and Captain Marvel, and all the rest of it. So you gave it a low damn grade, high grade, damn average, stuck with damn average. You gave it damn average. I'm actually going to go damn great. And the only reason why is because of those performances we got from like Thor and Rocket, and those emotional things, and Thanos just completely sold the film.
that's honestly just what kept me from giving it a pretty damn bad. Just like I said, what works.
So there you have it, folks. Our spoilerific Avengers Infinity War review. So, as always, please like, share, subscribe, the bell notification to know when we post new items. Visit our Patreon at patreon.com/Drinking Age Movies if you really like our content and help us to get more content out there, preferably some original content. I'd like to thank my special examiners today, Manny Classic.
What up?
And even Paul Workman, the man of constant hatred. So, until next time, just remember, #Paul is wrong.
Wait!